Hello, welcome to another God is a Geek video chat. Today we're going to talk about the new Super Smash Brothers. And I'm here with the man who has reviewed it, Mr. Chris Hyde. How are you doing, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
I'm alright. Now, this is your first video chat, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So I'll be gentle. So we'll get straight into it. So you're a massive fan of the series. You've covered it quite a bit for the website. Generally, what are your initial thoughts? What is it? Is it any good?
Well, yes, it's a little bit good, Chris, to be honest with you.
That's what I want to hear.
Yeah, it's probably the best Smash Brothers I've ever played, and I've played them all. So that's a bit of a bold opening statement.
That is.
Yeah, I mean, the game, as it stands, is by far the biggest of the Smash Brothers. That's been obviously heavily talked about in the directs. It's the most characters, the most stadiums and battle arenas and everything else. But actually, it kind of plays the best as well.
Course, yeah.
In terms of like performance-wise, played it a lot, and it's the smoothest Smash Brothers I've ever seen. There's no lag or anything like that. What I've played, I will say at the start, I haven't actually tried the online mode yet because it's not up and running. That will be available on launch. So this is all what we're talking about today is just local multiplayer and single player. But you know, with regards to local multiplayer, I've played 8-player Smash with items up to max, carnage, and there's been no slowdown whatsoever. So performance-wise, it's amazing. And in terms of how the game actually plays, it's a lot quicker than most other Smash Brothers titles. So previously, up to now, kind of Smash Brothers Melee on the GameCube was probably the fastest in terms of pace. But the more recent ones have been a little bit kind of slower in terms of how quickly the matches are. But this feels a lot more responsive and a lot quicker. So kind of a return to that kind of fast pace. Are there any other main differences between this and the other games, like in terms of power-ups and stuff like that? There's a lot more of them. In terms of the item count is a lot bigger, and obviously the kind of characters and the kind of assist trophies that you get, which kind of are items that pull out kind of CPU controlled characters to fight for you. There's a lot more of those in terms of count, in terms of number. There's a lot more of those. I'd say just the other thing, just in comparison to the other games, is kind of, I think it's the first Smash Brothers where it sounds stupid, but the characters actually have like a mass. So whereas in previous games, they'd kind of, if you had two characters that ran into each other, they just sort of like pass through each other. But if you think about other kind of fighting games, like they would kind of stop if they met each other, and that's kind of happened for the first time. So I guess if you've got kind of veterans of the series that are used to kind of manipulating things, that's quite a big change. That means, you know, this game feels a lot different. It doesn't just feel like it's just a prettier version of other games. So I found that quite interesting when I first started, because it's not just the same old Smash Brothers. There is a whole new beast to learn here, which is really interesting.
Yeah, of course. Excuse me. New characters. So what are they like?
So yeah, the character thing's really interesting because, you know, there's over 70 of them when you unlock all of them, and that's before we start getting into future DLC. So that's a lot of different characters to think about, and it can feel quite, you know, you think on the face of it, it'd be quite overwhelming. You know, how do I get to grips with 70 different characters? And it's quite interesting how the game deals with it, because it kind of, you have 8 that are unlocked at the start, the original 8 characters from the N64 version, and there's kind of 2 ways to unlock different characters. You either unlock them in the World of Light mode, which we'll talk about later, or they get unlocked after a certain amount of game time. So after you've been playing the game for a certain amount of time and you finish a particular mode, what'll happen is a challenger will appear, and then if you beat them, you unlock them in your roster. So the way that actually plays out in reality is you unlock them fairly quickly. But not sort of like every minute there's a new character, but they're frequent enough to be a nice like addition, like a little reward for some game time.
Yeah.
So it never feels like, oh, I've got 25 new characters to play through, but you are always unlocking them, so it doesn't feel like a big chore. It's almost like a little bit of a reward, so it never feels overbearing to kind of get to grips with the new characters that you've unlocked. So I found the pacing of that quite good, because I was quite worried about that when I first, when you hear about the game and how big it is, that that was going to be something that would kind of just feel a little bit too much.
Definitely.
And the good thing is as well, like with like there's new characters obviously in this game. Obviously all the returning characters, but then there's some new characters that are unique to this game. So you've got like Ridley from the Metroid series and King K. Rool from the Donkey Kong series, for example. And actually there's like those characters are actually really interesting new characters. They're not just like clones of existing ones. They actually kind of bring really interesting ways to fight, and the way that they control and the moves that they have really do set them apart from the characters that are already there. So that's nice, because you'd think you could get to a point where they all just feel the same, but actually these are kind of individuals in their own right. So that it feels like when you unlock them, it is something new and exciting to experience.
Yeah, so what are the arenas like? Like how many arenas are you talking roughly?
So the arena count, I'd have to look at it exactly. I can't remember exactly, but there's at least sort of like 50, 60, if not more. I don't remember the exact count, but they're all unlocked from the start. So that's a slightly different mechanic, whereas the characters are a slow drip feed. The arenas are all unlocked from the start. And I suppose if there is any kind of criticism of that, it would be that you're like, wow, how do I have a favourite when there's so many unlocked from the start? But I think
that's good though.
Yeah, it's good that
it's a good thing.
I don't think it's necessarily a reward to say, wow, you've unlocked 2 more arenas. I don't think people would care as much as unlocking characters. No. So I think it makes sense. But it does mean that it will take longer for people to kind of build up their kind of, these are my favourite arenas to fight in. And the good thing about the arenas is you can have them in their true forms or kind of more generic forms as well. So you can play an arena just because you like the background or the feel of it, but you can kind of have them in kind of standard layouts as well, so that you can pick the right aesthetic rather than thinking, oh, that arena's shaped like that and I can only therefore play that style. So that's good as well.
Yeah, cool. So you mentioned earlier about the World of Light mode. Do you want to explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, so this is the single player adventure mode of the game, which is a really welcome return actually, because there hasn't really been a decent one of those since the Subspace Emissary in Brawl on the Wii. The Wii version of Smash Brothers had some awful Smash Tour mode, which was pretty terrible. So it's quite nice to see them go back to a kind of adventure mode with all the characters in. Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen the kind of the intro cut sequence to this or not.
No, I haven't.
So, I mean, basically, just to top line it, there's a evil force that basically turns all of the characters into kind of puppets, if you like. With the exception of Kirby, who escapes on a star, and you're left with Kirby to start the adventure.
Poor Kirby.
Yeah, poor Kirby. And then he's got to kind of go around and kind of battle these kind of puppets, if you like, to kind of restore them back. Is kind of the basic premise. And as well as like the characters that have become puppets, there's also spirits as well. And spirits is kind of a new part of the game, and they kind of go hand in hand with World of Light, so I'll talk about them together. So spirits are kind of like the collectibles in the game. Previously it's been sort of trophies that have been the collectibles, with all the kind of history around various franchises, but it's spirits this time around. And the good thing about spirits versus say trophies is that actually they mean something this time around, whereas before they were just something on a kind of video game shelf. They're actually whilst they're game characters from games, they also give you kind of your fighter sort of little buffs and enhance their attack power and stuff like that. So they're worth collecting, they're worth going after. And what you find in the World of Light mode is that you'll go around this kind of world map and go and fight various spirits or fighters, and if you beat them you unlock either a spirit or a fighter, and you build up your collection of spirits, and they, like I say, they give you kind of buffs and things in battles to make it easier to beat fighters and build your roster. So ultimately you're trying to progress around the world map to go and beat the evil baddie that's caused all this mess in the first place. I won't spoil any more than that, but it's quite a long adventure. It's a good sort of 25 hours worth of content in the World of Light section, and that's what I've put into it, and I've not done everything, so there's a lot of content in there. There's over 1,000 spirits that you could collect, so there's a lot of stuff going on in that mode. So plenty of single player content to kind of build on. The obviously multiplayer is the focus of Smash, so it's quite nice to have such a ultimate package, I suppose, if you like. So yeah, it's really a really nice addition, and they've clearly put a lot of thought and time into it.
Yeah, marvellous. Well, I mean, if you enjoyed our chat, you can go and read Chris's review on godisageek.com, or you can go and hound him with questions on Twitter at ChrisHyde83. Chris, thank you very much for joining me, mate.
No problem, mate. Anytime.
No worries. And thank you all for listening. Take care. Bye-bye.